Hi, welcome to Celebrating Culture. Every year, the Piazza puts on the Italian Sports Hall of Fame banquet. This episode, we're going to feature some of the great celebrities and their words of wisdom that they've given to us about being Italian. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Our news spent 5 years touring Louisiana. We've interviewed countless numbers of people. The people that make it happen, that put on Mardi Gras, the chefs, the artists, the backbone of Louisiana. We've taken those interviews and made a show called Celebrating Culture. But we've also taken those interviews and put them in a tour app, New Orleans Insider Tours. To download the apps, all you have to do is point your phone at the flow code in the camera mode. Once you have the app downloaded, you'll have access to putting together the best game plan to experience in Louisiana. You can start with Little Palermo, which is 50 points of interest on the Italian community, and then go to Statue Stories and Spirits, over 150 stops in the French Quarter and CBD. Where to dine in New Orleans, what rooftop bars give you the best view, how to see the Gulf of Mexico from the coastal towns, driving up to the Bonnie and Clyde Museum near Shreveport, or up to Vicksburg. New Orleans and Louisiana are must-see for everyone, and there's so much to see. So we hope you enjoy it, and as we say here, let the good times roll. Hi, we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Celebrating Culture. Our News has interviewed hundreds of people and produced dozens of episodes for local broadcasting. Awesome people doing great things to inspire us all. If you'd like to watch a specific interview, please visit our YouTube channel and subscribe. Hey, welcome with the Italian Cultural Center, the awards banquet, and the recipient this year is Franco Harris. Franco, thank you for coming to New Orleans, man.
My pleasure. This is my favorite town. This town it means so much to me. It's been good to me, and I love food, so be in this town.
So tell us, what is your greatest memory about New Orleans?
It's this thing called the Super Bowl.
I heard about it.
Yeah, but long time ago, back in 1974 season, but January 75. And I believe the Superdome was supposed to be ready, but it wasn't.
So you were in Tulane Stadium?
So we had to play in Tulane Stadium. And it happened to be a cold day that day, which was quite surprising because the day before it was beautiful. We played Minnesota, so it didn't affect either one of us.
That's true. I mean, obviously the catch. So yours is the Immaculate Reception, right?
Immaculate Reception. That's how we know it in Pittsburgh. Right.
I mean, a lot of prep for you guys when you took over that decade. The 70s was yours. But it must have taken you a lot of work to get there.
A lot of work. But I give credit for the Immaculate Reception to Joe Paterno. And where he used to yell all the time, go to the ball, go to the ball. And when you were in college, a lot of times you don't listen, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But when I hit training camp, all those things that you're supposed to do and what you didn't follow completely in college, kind of say, hey, now you're in the pros, start doing every little thing. And I always went to the ball. And because of that, in my mind, when Bradshaw threw the pass, it was go to the ball. And then before I knew it,
it was there to you. It was coming back to you.
You know, that it was unbelievable. And it was a big moment in Steeler history. They had never won a playoff game before.
That's right. I mean, you changed everything.
And this was the first playoff game that the Steelers ever won, and in dramatic fashion, as you know. But it really set the tone. Now, we didn't know at the time, but it really set the tone what was to happen the rest of that decade in the 70s.
Last chance for the Steelers. Bradshaw trying to get away. And his pass is broken up by Tatum. Tipped off. Franco Harris has it. And he's over. What? Franco Harris. Grab the ball.
But I think it did start to make us believe that we can win. You know what I mean? That, as I mentioned, this was the first playoff game the Steelers ever won. If we would have lost, people would have said the same old Steelers.
Right.
They find a way to lose again. But this time we were losing, and we found a way to win.
Now, if you had hesitated a half a second, you wouldn't have been there because you were that close to, I mean, it took everything you had to catch that ball.
You know what, just like everything in life, timing and place. I don't remember a thing about the play except leaving the backfield, and my only other memory is running down the sideline, giving a stiff arm to Warren, Jimmy Warren.
Yes.
But between leaving the backfield and running down the sideline, remember nothing, complete blank. But I do want people to know, unbeknownst to me at that time, my mother put on the album Ave Maria.
In the middle of the game?
No, during this play it was
During
on.
the play?
Ave Maria was on.
I have a grandmother who sings it very well. I mean, that's powerful.
Very powerful.
So your family's spirituality has been a big part?
I tell you what, well, I grew up Catholic, and you know, my mom putting that record on that.
That's a touching story.
I'm not saying, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, but you know, like I'm just saying.
What was it like during the few minutes where they were reviewing the play? Because it seemed like the country was at a loss as to how they were going to call it. They didn't know what to do. Let's see.
Well, we had no idea what was going on.
Right.
First of all, you know, we're thinking it was a touchdown, and we didn't know that they were discussing what to do, or was it a touchdown?
Yes.
You know what I mean? I mean, that would have been kind of odd when they ruled a touchdown, and back then to overturn it, that would have been real strange. You know what I mean?
Sure.
To do something like that, and but it all worked out.
So what lessons at Paterno would you tell a young athlete right now who's going to college about how to play college ball?
Well, you know what? There are so many things all the way through, you know, that you pick up in high school, you pick up in college, and you pick up in the pros. And, you know, and all of it relates. And you hope to take success in one place in high school, and can you be successful in college? And then when you're successful in college, can you take what you learned there and be successful in the pros? Because as you know, each step is a big step.
Yes.
And a tougher step. And so are you prepared well? In high school, I tell people, my high school coach, Mr. Petrillo, ex-Marine, oh my gosh. My first two-a-days, I thought I was going through hell. It was so tough, so hot. So, you know, that's my first time ever doing something like that. But you find how to get through it. And even though you think you can't, you find a way to keep going. And when you get to Penn State, I mean, everything with Joe was detail, every little detail, you know. You run it again until you get it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
That execution is what it's all about. You know, preparation is what it's all about, and then executing.
Well, that's it.
And
Execution and preparation. I think they're calling us, and tonight's your big night. I want to thank you for coming back to New Orleans. I mean, in the Super Bowl story, the Italian community here is really grateful for you. I got one slight favor I want to do. I actually want to say that I one time hand it off to you.
Oh my God. And I'm going to run with it.
He's going to go with it. All right. So we'll get another touchdown. Have a great time tonight.
Beautiful.
And thanks for coming back to New Orleans.
Thank you. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Celebrating Cultures organized the content from our show into an app called New Orleans Insider Tours. Download the app to see views of the New Orleans skyline from various rooftop bars around the city. Go up to Rosie's on the Roof. It gives you a great perspective of the city. New Orleans has a tremendous amount to offer, but leaving the city and exploring Louisiana is a must. If you'd like to enjoy the coast of Louisiana, go down to Delacroix. If you'd like to know the history of the river, go up to the Great River Road Museum in Darrow. Poverty Point is located between Monroe and Tallulah, Louisiana, and is one of 23 World Heritage Sites in America. Celebrating Culture is brought to you by Awe News. Awe News also produces New Orleans Insider Tours, which are 10 self-guided tours of New Orleans and Louisiana. If you want to enjoy oysters raised a new way off bottom, stop by Dickie Brennan's Bourbon House. If you want to enjoy charbroiled oysters, stop by Drago's. We're coming to you from the Italian Sports Hall of Fame banquet in New Orleans, Louisiana, and with Alexander Rossi, who won the Indianapolis 500 as a rookie in 2016. Alex, welcome.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So tell us, what is that like coming in? It was a very dramatic finish you had.
Dramatic's one way to put it, for sure. It was amazing. I just had the opportunity in the first place to compete in the 100th running of the Indianapolis 500. I had never been to the race before. I had been in Europe for the previous 7 years racing and competing in Formula One, so my knowledge of the 500 and IndyCar in general was super limited. So that whole month of May, the lead up to the event and the history of the entire race and what that means not only to motorsport history but American history as well was very exceptional and something that really changed my perspective of.
Was that a goal for you to do Indy, being in Europe so long?
No, not at all. The opportunity came to race in IndyCar for Andretti Autosport very late in February of last year, and it was an opportunity that made a lot of sense, and I got on a plane from England where I was living at the time and flew to Indianapolis and had a deal signed about 5 days later. So no, it was never on my radar, but...
And you're with one of the iconic teams. I mean, Mario, Michael, just got so much energy with that.
Absolutely, and that was one of the main reasons as to why I made the decision to come back to America and race here, was because I would have the opportunity to drive for Michael, and he was someone that understood what I had gone through as an American going to Europe and trying to achieve a goal of racing in Formula One, and he had also made the transition from F1 to IndyCar, so there was a lot of similarities and a lot of things that we could relate on, and he's a great guy to work for.
So there's a lot of Americans who are weekend warriors on the car track. I mean, but what you did winning, I mean, it's got to be everybody is picturing themselves in the home run and the World Series. What was going on with the pits as you guys decided how to strategize and hold on?
Well, the issue was we were quick all month. The first third of the race, we were, in the top 10, top 6, and everything was going well. And then we had 2 very bad pit stops where we couldn't refuel the car.
Yes.
So we went from 6th to 30th over those 2 pit stops. So it forced us to go off strategy and to try and do 1 stop less than everyone else, which was, all fine and well in theory. But on the last fuel stint, we had to make the fuel go 5 laps longer than anyone had ever gone before, and we had ever gone before. So we were in pretty unknown territory. So it was obviously a huge team effort to make that happen. And I didn't think that. No one thought that we would make it. Even starting the last lap, I didn't think I was going to make it back.
You can hear your voice and talking to the pit. I mean, it seems like you waited till the last second. They told you to give it, to let it out.
The engine started to cut in turn 2, and at that point, you still have, nearly 2 miles of the track left. And so we wanted to get the car to as the highest speed as possible to coast down from. So as the engine started to cut, we were at about 150 miles an hour, got it up to 210, and then coasted down to 130 as we crossed the line. So.
Now, and your teammates, does it work well to have the other Andretti people and just that strategy so that you've got a lot of support when you're on the track trying to figure out how to do that?
Yes, I mean, I was in a fortunate situation because 2 of my teammates had an issue earlier in the race, so they were out of contention. They were quite a few laps down, and the way we were on track together actually worked out for me because I was able to stay behind them, and when you drive close to the car in front of you, you can save more fuel than normal. Exactly, you can draft. So that was, another thing that went our direction, and it was one of those things that was just meant to be.
Now, I understand Laguna Seca is special for you, and Laguna Seca is special for so many people because of Pebble Beach and the vintage racing. The corkscrew, what are your favorite parts of the track?
I love the whole track. Laguna is special to me because it's where my father and I would go from when I was 3 years old and watch races. So that was really my introduction to racing, and then it was a track that I learned how to drive a race car on. From when I was 14, I got into a race car for the first time and have 2,000 to 3,000 laps there, and it's basically home for me in terms of driving race cars.
Are there any other specific races that you remember so well? Like that last lap at Indy, but what else compares to that?
My debut in Formula One was obviously very special. That was something that I had worked for 15 years before it became a reality. Competing in the 24 Hours of Le Mans was amazing. 24 Hours of Daytona. I've been fortunate at 25 to compete in all the big races in the world now. So Indy will always be special because it was the biggest event. It was the first time in history they ever sold it out. There was 420,000 people in attendance. There'll never be a sporting event in my lifetime that was as big as that.
So what was the role of your dad? Family was very big in your education on racing?
Yeah, no, my family was critical. I was very fortunate to be brought up in a very close-knit family, and none of us knew anything about racing. I didn't come from a racing background or racing family, and it was a huge effort for my father, my mom, my grandma starting out, and they would all come to the racetrack, would pour all of their lives into it, and they still do. It's the main reason that I am where I am today, because of the family that I have.
Is there anything special? Is it when Italians, we pride ourselves, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Bugatti, so much about racing. So is it part of the culture to be like you've brought the culture and won at Indy, and a little bit of pride there for the Italian industry?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think there's a huge amount of Italian influence in motorsports, and it's a sport that is, its home is Italy, really. And so for me to be an Italian American and to be able to represent that in an event such as the Indy 500 is an amazing thing. And like I said, my family was a huge part of it, and they were all integral in my career from a daily basis. And it's very rare, I think, to have so much family support for one goal. Sure. It's difficult sometimes because people have different opinions and such, but the selflessness of my whole family kind of pushed me to where I am today, and I was very fortunate with that.
Any tips for a go-karter on how a 12-year-old or 14-year-old can make it to follow you?
Be okay with the fact that it'll never go according to plan.
Okay.
And that's all right. I mean, I never, in my wildest dreams, imagined I'd be competing in the IndyCar, let alone the Indy 500, just because it was not my career path. The opportunity came, and initially it was a little bit disappointing, but it's obviously turned out to be something very special, and my knowledge of the sport and appreciation for the sport has increased tenfold. And so sometimes when doors close, other doors open, and it's all for the better.
Wow, great. Alex, it's a pleasure meeting you. Congratulations on
Appreciate
winning Indy. And thank you for coming down to New Orleans to share a little bit of the enthusiasm with our crowd here. We got about 400 people here tonight.
Yeah, it's amazing. Look forward to it.
Frank has been doing this for about 35 years, and his dad. It's just a fun night. Glad you're part of it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Our news spent 5 years touring Louisiana. We've interviewed countless numbers of people. The people that make it happen, that put on Mardi Gras, the chefs, the artists, the backbone of Louisiana. We've taken those interviews and made a show called Celebrating Culture. But we've also taken those interviews and put them in a tour app, New Orleans Insider Tours. To download the apps, all you have to do is point your phone at the flow code in the camera mode. Once you have the app downloaded, you'll have access to putting together the best game plan to experience in Louisiana. You can start with Little Palermo, which is 50 points of interest on the Italian community, and then go to Statue Stories and Spirits, over 150 stops in the French Quarter and CBD. Where to dine in New Orleans, what rooftop bars give you the best view, how to see the Gulf of Mexico from the coastal towns, driving up to the Bonnie and Clyde Museum near Shreveport, or up to Vicksburg. New Orleans and Louisiana are must-see for everyone, and there's so much to see. So we hope you enjoy it, and as we say here, let the good times roll. Celebrating Cultures organized the content from our show into an app called New Orleans Insider Tours. New Orleans has a tremendous amount to offer, but leaving the city and exploring Louisiana is a must. If you'd like to enjoy the coast of Louisiana, go down to Delacroix. If you'd like to know the history of the river, go up to the Great River Road Museum in Darrow. Hi, welcome back to Celebrating Culture. We're here tonight at the home of Frank Maselli, and I'm with Vince Ferragamo. Vince, welcome to the show.
Charlie, good to be on the show, thanks.
So what's it like being back here at Frank's house?
We always enjoyed coming back to New Orleans. And since the first time I met Joe Maselli in Chicago when I was inducted in the Sports Hall of Fame, he came up to me and invited me to come to New Orleans for this banquet, to meet the people in New Orleans who were so excited to meet us and to raise money for the Cultural Center. I said, sure, I'd love to come. So I've been coming ever since.
It's California, 'cause it's cold and damp. That's why that lady's a tramp. You know, Uncle Frank. She gets too hungry to wait for dinner at 8. She loves the theater, but never goes late. She would never bother with those people. She'd hate. That's why that lady is a tramp.
I was so impressed a couple of years ago when you spoke. What are some of the principles that your family put into you guys?
Growing up Italian is like, your mother and father, the pride of the family, and going to grandma's house on Sunday afternoon.
Absolutely.
And it's just having the respect. Sitting down at the dinner table and eating and having a great big meal, spending 2 to 3 hours there, laughing, telling jokes, reminiscing stories. This was our life as a kid growing up. It was just so much fun to have that close family support that we had. We always got together at the holidays, and we still do today. We still try to keep that tradition alive. So everywhere I go throughout the country, I played some ball in LA, obviously. I went to Buffalo. Met a great family, the DePaulos. Ilio DePaulo was a great wrestler, wrestled with my father-in-law, Joe Scarpello, for many years. Went to his house, he had the bocce court in the backyard.
Bocce is a big thing.
You play the bocce ball, right?
From a 5-year-old to 105.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
Anybody can play.
Yeah.
Right? You just roll the balls. And he would get down in his little stance and he'd roll the ball. He was one of the great all-time wrestlers, and he wrestled with my father-in-law. They were really close-knit. And so when I went there, it was almost like family. And we went to his home for Thanksgiving, and you know, as a Thanksgiving meal, you always have the pasta before. My mom used to make a lasagna pasta, and then she would serve it before the turkey dinner. And my brothers would get to the table, they would unloosen their belts and sit down and just eat, and mangiare. You know?
Yeah.
And you just ate and ate and ate. You know, life after football has been great because I have my own family. I have my 3 daughters, and we kind of try to follow the family traditions at Christmas time, Christmas Eve. We all get together.
What would you pass on as far as the dedication to excel? I mean, because clearly you excelled. You know, you went to Cal, you had a great career there, then you go on to the pros.
As I go through life after football, and you know, of course, football was a big part of my life, being playing for the Los Angeles Rams, but you learn about the steps that were required of you to be successful. Those don't change. Hard work, dedication. It's more important that you prepare. You have a passion to do what you do. And that's what we had. We had passion. We were precise in what we did. We were patient. We persevered, and then we had profit at the end. And if you do those kind of things, I think, you know, in life today, that really is important, and it applies to you on the football field and being a professional athlete, and it also applies to you in business. And passion, you know, is so much a big part of it because we're passionate people. You know, we're a romantic language in the first place.
We are.
Roma and Italian, and it's like everything is expressive.
How's your winery doing?
Oh, it's fantastic. And it's named after my 3 daughters, Cara, Vanessa, and Jenna. We call it Caressa J. And it's a super Tuscan. We grow the grapes right in Orange County on my property. And it's just a small boutique winery, but we've gotten gold medals the last 4 years at the LA International Wine Competition. It's great. I became a sommelier myself.
You did?
I did. And the Sangiovese is probably the main ingredient grape for a super Tuscan.
The Superdome.
And the Superdome is a crazy place.
It is. So what did you
Who
think
Dat
you would
Nation.
do?
Who that? Who that say go beat them Saints? Who that? Who that? Who that say go beat them Saints? Who that?
Uh-oh.
Who that? Who that say go beat them Saints?
Yeah.
Who that? Who that?
I was here for the game when the Rams played them in the NFC Championship
All right.
game. And the decimals were 110, 112. They had the reading on the chart. And but the most impressive thing was Gail Benson walking across the field with Who Dat Nation, and they were playing the music, and they had the fans going crazy. I got goosebumps watching her
It's
across that field.
amazing.
It was unfortunate they didn't win the game.
Right.
They had the no call at the end, but that was a really good team. They have a good coach, and they had a great quarterback playing.
Well, and
so-
Tom Benson did a lot as well. So he had the Benson Boogie, and it just seems that Gail has done a lot to make sure that professionalism, that community atmosphere stays with it. So the Who Dat Nation,
Who
though,
Dat.
you saw that 110 decibels. That is
It was unbelievable.
unbelievably, that rocks.
And I remember when I played in there, Charlie, it was loud too. We had a great defense. And the only way we could drive the ball is at the end of the game when I called my own plays. Yeah,
Could
just
you hear
making up
from
stuff.
the
I
noise?
get in the huddle and say, hey man, just get open, run the post route. I'm gonna throw the ball, just get open. And so they get open and we drove the ball, we kicked the winning field goal at the end of the game, much like they did in this game,
Yes.
in a different way, obviously. We were able to beat a tough New Orleans team then.
that was an error.
And
too.
that was right when they were on the verge of really exploding and coming on. And unfortunately, they had to play the Rams that day. And we had a good team.
Vince, I want to thank you for being on the show.
Sure,
and I
thank
want to
you.
do one thing that's mine. I want to say that I caught a Vince Ferragamo pass.
Okay, all right. Well, hey, this is not the same size ball anymore, but you know, I can throw it.
No, but I
My
think I
grandson throws better than I do now, but hey, it's all right. So,
All right.
All right, you
So
ready to
you
catch
back
it?
up, take a step
all right,
back?
how about backing up a little
We're not
bit?
going to
All
go
right.
for like a long
Okay,
distance
don't
pass.
go deep because you know you might drop it.
All right.
All right, here we go.
All right.
All right, good job, Charlie. All right, good job.
Thank you, man.
All right, thank you.
Let's go manja. Celebrating Cultures organized the content from our show into an app called New Orleans Insider Tours. Download the app to see views of the New Orleans skyline from various rooftop bars around the city. Go up to Rosie's on the Roof. It gives you a great perspective of the city. New Orleans has a tremendous amount to offer, but leaving the city and exploring Louisiana is a must. If you'd like to enjoy the coast of Louisiana, go down to Delacroix. If you'd like to know the history of the river, go up to the Great River Road Museum in Darrow. Poverty Point is located between Monroe and Tallulah, Louisiana, and is one of 23 World Heritage Sites in America. Hi, welcome to New Orleans Insider Tours. We've created 10 apps for you to really experience Louisiana from an insider point of view. The Little Palermo app is free. It has 50 points of interest in the French Quarter of New Orleans, showcasing monuments, restaurants, and other points of Sicilian influence into Louisiana culture. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Celebrating Culture, and I hope you've been inspired by some of the great stories of these Italian legends on what gave them that extra boost to become successful. We'll see you next week.